groups. Now, my next guest has questioned the IRS officials last week, and today Tennessee Republican Congresswoman Diane Black just unveiled a bill that aims to, as she says, to stop abuse of taxpayer information. Representative Black, good to have you with us here on Taking Stock. Thanks for joining us. Can you just explain, Congresswoman Black, exactly what relationship the Internal Revenue Service has to the reform to health care in the United States?
Well, first of all, let's just start out with the hearing last week. We already know that the American public distrusts the IRS to begin with. They fear them and they distrust them, and I think it was only magnified and confirmed last week in our hearings that they are correct in doing that, in fearing and distrusting. What this bill will do is we're already concerned about the amount of information. There is a huge amount of information that the IRS is now going to have to implement the president's health care bill, Obamacare. But that's not even the worst of it. As we speak right now, there is actually a hub with multiple agencies inputting our very personal information. It's called the Financial Services Hub. And this hub, it has data that comes from 5 different agencies that is all going to be dumped in one place. It will be the largest database with our personal information that the federal government has ever put together. So this federal services database is going to be out there to be abused and misused just like the IRS. And this is a piece of Obamacare to implement this program. And so what our bill does is it helps to safeguard that information to say that under the perjury of law, that each one of these agencies are going to have to set up safeguards to be sure that this information cannot be abused and misused, particularly for purposes of political reasons.
Congresswoman Black, is this a question of the technology and the scale of the implementation as much as it is about the dynamic of specific institutions like the Internal Revenue Service? Because the Internal Revenue Service has been around for Democrat as well as Republican administrations.
Well, let's take a look at all of those different agencies that are going to be a part of this. And this is as a result of Obamacare and the amount of power that this particular health care bill is going to have over us. So it's the IRS, it's HHS, Health and Human Services, it's also DOJ, the Department of Justice, it's Social Security, and let me see, what's the 5th one? There is a 5th one there. I'm freezing on that right now. But there are 5 major different agencies that are going to have this information all in one place.
We've got also the Department of Homeland Security and also the Social Security Administration.
Yes.
So does this mean more money is going to have to be spent for these safeguards, or can it be done within the existing budgetary framework?
Oh, there is a way to do this in the existing budgetary framework, just as there was a way for the IRS to make sure that our information was not being misused. As we find more and more information coming out, it's just astounding of how little oversight there was with the amount of information that was being utilized to go and target certain organizations. Just unbelievable.
Congresswoman Black, this idea that the investigation goes back to 2011 and that the Inspector General's report never made its way to the White House. Indeed, the White House had to learn about it through the news media. What does that say about the communication that exists in government?
I say that it is a very large concern for me that the leader of our country would not know that this was going on when people right underneath of him were aware of what was going on and this wasn't being reported to him.
Do you feel that they were trying to protect him?
I don't want to assume anything until all of this information is found. I think you're going to find more and more as we uncover this through our hearings. But I will say at the very least it's very inept when you have leaders within each one, within that agency, and then that information going up to the leaders right underneath of the president and not sharing this very, very important information, especially during the time of an election. It's just unbelievable.
Congresswoman Black, we note, of course, that Stephen Miller, who was the acting commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service, he testified on Friday. He has resigned from the IRS. Does it matter who is in charge, or do you want different kinds of oversight for the Internal Revenue Service?
Well, I think it does matter who's in charge, and we're certainly going to look to see who the president puts in charge. He has already put someone in there temporarily. But beyond that, there's also got to be something in writing that says here is how things are going to be done. That's part of our questions of when did they know, who knew, what action was taken, and what action was put into place to ensure the American people this isn't going to happen again. And we're not going to just take that for granted. We're going to make sure that we put things in place to ensure the American people that they can trust the government having this very personal and sensitive information.
I want to thank you very much, Congresswoman Diane Black, Republican from Tennessee, member of the House Ways and Means Committee.